Hi, everybody. My name is Molly Ira. I am 22 years old. I am a full time nursing student at AHU, obviously, and I am also a full time mother to two beautiful children. I have a little girl who's 4 years old. She just turned 4 January 2nd. Her name's Riley Rain. And I have an 8-month-old little boy who is named Steven Smith. So I have my hands full all the time, but I'm so blessed to be a mom. And I also want to start off by saying I feel really blessed to be taking this class. I believe that it is so important to teach the values of Christ and compassion, especially going into the healthcare field. And being a healthcare worker, it's so important to know that we will have many patients that come into our care that may not make it, or families that are dealing with loss. And also, I just believe that everything Professor Patterson said was so true about grieving your own losses and making a positive outcome of that is very important, because it's a fact of life, and it happens all the time. And in my own life, I have had tremendous loss. My life has been a series of, I won't say unfortunate events, because I've had just as many fortunate as I have had unfortunate, but I have suffered a lot of loss, and it's a big part of who I am. And I'm always willing to talk about that because it helps me get through that process. So yeah, I'm very blessed to be taking this class, but first I'm going to be talking about who I am, what I like to do, my hobbies, etc. So I am currently sitting outside of my home. I have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. I'm a homeowner. I'm very, very blessed. I'm a realtor on the side, so it's kind of something that I do. I've worked in property management. My family has a background of property management, so it just kind of runs in my blood. I'm sitting outside right now. This is my little safe spot when the kids are sleeping or doing something where I kind of get a break. I love to clean. I'm a clean freak. I'm just that person. And it just is something that I love to do. I mop and vacuum every day. People call me crazy, but hey, listen, when you go through microbiology, you kind of learn a lot about all that bacteria and stuff, right? So that's one of the things I love to do. I love to decorate. I'm an arts and crafts person, so my kids' birthday parties are extravagant, things like that. Decorating a home. I'm into the whole farmhouse chic look thing, so that's kind of what I'm doing in my home right now. I've been here since December last year, so it's been about a year now, a little over a year. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me. I also sing. I'm a pianist. I was on a worship team for a long time. I love to worship God. I believe that that's one of my callings, is to be a worshiper for Christ, because ultimately we just want to spread the word, right, about Him, and that's what I love to do. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and what I like. Let's see. I guess going into a little bit about my story, I've suffered tremendous loss in my life, and it really has taken effect on me. The first person that I'd love to talk about is my father. So my father was extravagant. I mean, this man went from having nothing in his life, starting out with nothing in his life, to working 3 jobs and putting himself through school to get a master's degree, and then opening several businesses, becoming a Hall of Fame member for the National Apartment Association, creating one of the largest companies that there is in property management. I mean, anybody who's taken the CAM test, if anybody knows about that in property management, my dad helped write it. I mean, this guy was just such a businessman, a family man. He was incredible. And he was my best friend. But when I was 6 months pregnant with Riley in 2015, August of 2015, I got a phone call from my brother, who I will be speaking about later, who said, Molly, you have to come here. I had just moved out a weekend before into my own apartment, getting ready to become a mom and do things on my own. And I was only 18 at the time. I graduated 6 weeks pregnant with my daughter. So this was 5 or 6 months later. I get the call, and my brother said, I think our dad is dead. So you need to get here now. And I did. I came, and by the time I got there, everybody was waiting for me because they knew how devastated how devastating it would be for me. And I had a baby in my belly. They wanted to make sure that I was okay. When I arrived, the paramedics told me that he had already been gone for hours at that point. So he passed away in his sleep unexpectedly, to what we believe is a heart attack. So I was devastated. It was the worst day of my life. It still is the worst day of my life, and it always will be. But I got to go in there and hold his hand and sit next to his body and say my goodbyes. And just like in the interview that you're going to watch, if you haven't already, with Professor Edgerton, it's so important to have that closure. Like she talks about the mothers that hold the babies after they lose them. It's so important to have that closure, and that helped me to see it and make it real for me. And also grieve the fact that my father would never meet his first grandchild, and that my baby would never meet her grandfather. So that was such a big loss in my life. And then about a year and a half later, I got pregnant again, and it was unexpected. We were so happy, and I was around 10 weeks when I lost the baby. So that was another huge loss in my life. I was devastated. I felt like I did something wrong, but 1 in 4 women have it. 1 in 4 women miscarry, have infertility. There's so many things that are not talked about, and I was 1 in 4. I lost the baby, and you know what? I always believe that there's a reason for that, though. Sometimes things just don't work out, and it's not in our plan, or it's not God's timing. And so I was willing to accept that. And as time goes on, I know that I have a little baby angel watching over me every day. And it's so funny how God works, because, let's see, around December of 2018, we lost my grandmother, my only grandmother, to stage 4 lung cancer. So she had been diagnosed about a year earlier, and we found it, and it was in stage 4, and we started the treatments for her and everything. And unfortunately, by the time we had found it, it was already taking her body really quickly, and she quickly got sick and quickly went on hospice. And she was such a rock. Both my dad and my grandma were just the rock, the glue to our family. So losing those 2 people in our life was just, no one ever thought it would happen. But it did, and it does. It happens to all of us. This is just an inevitable part of life. But I got to be there with her as she took her last breaths. And it's so funny, like I said, how God works, because I was 5 or 6 months pregnant with Steven at the time. So around the same time that I was pregnant with Riley, I lost my dad. And around the same time being pregnant with Steven, I lost my grandmother. I mean, within the same amount of months. So God gave me those blessings in the midst of the sorrow. He gave me hope and a light for my family. He knew that he would use me and these beautiful children to do that through loss. And I think that that's so important, to know that God is always with you. He's always going to bring you through the trials and tribulations that you have and these significant losses. And there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so the last thing, because I've already gone past the time that I'm supposed to, it's hard to fit everything into one. So I want to introduce you to one of the most important people in my life, and have her speak about a little bit about my brother, who is a huge reason why I'm becoming a nurse. My brother's had 123 brain surgeries, 24 124 brain surgeries, mostly at Arnold Palmer and Florida Hospital. Right where we are. He was diagnosed with congenital hydrocephalus at the age of 3 months, I believe. Yep. And my mother has just been another one of the rocks in our family. So this is her. Nice. This is my mom. Her name's Stephanie, and I'm going to have her talk just a little bit about Chase and the journey, and why everything I said already is so important. So go ahead, Mom, take it away.
Hi, everyone. First of all, none of us would be sitting here without our magnificent Father, Heavenly Father. I am a mother who knows God's grace and mercy, and the fact that we're never alone, even in our greatest tragedies and greatest sorrows. My most important gifts from God are my children, Molly and Chase, and then my grandchildren. So I think that with our greatest losses comes God's greatest gifts to us, and it's very important to try to remember that connection and tend that garden every day. And sometimes in this life that's hard.
Yes, especially going through what you've gone through with Chase, I know.
Very much so.
Being on the other side and being a family member of a patient, and how those nurses could help you and be there for you.
Let me explain for sure what you are doing. What you're doing is not just caring for your patients, for their life, their quality of life, their sickness, but you also support and care for the family. I'm a mother who has sat beside her child powerless to help it, to help him, to help the disease. And I can remember one time specifically being up on the 11th floor in neuro ICU in the Ginsburg Tower. And there are people that are so special to me, I call them our second family. And as we were all just so concerned and continuing to pray for Chase, and just things weren't looking good, and Angie and Caesar came into the room and said, "Stephanie, we would like to pray over Chase." And every single one of those nurses came into that room and put hands on my son and held me and prayed.
Mm.
And it's because of their care and compassion and their faith and endurance, because it's not an easy job. I know that. But I was able to endure. My son got better, not just because of our faith, but because of the care and the compassion that we were given every day.
Absolutely.
Just a brush of their hand, a smile, a hug. It matters. What you do matters in every way.
Absolutely.
So good luck in your journey, and keep your connection to God as tight and as strong as you can.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mom. So with that, I'm going to end the video. I can't wait to, I'm sorry that I went over the time. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I am looking forward to getting to know you all and us going through this journey together.